If you've ever thought, why am I stuck in the same spot even after all this work, this video is for you. We're going to unpack the three main reasons I've found that land clearing businesses don't scale past a certain point and what you can do to break through. The only thing I'm not going to cover is how to actually do your job and how to be nice to people. You need to know how to operate a machine, you need to know how to do quality work, and you need to know how to be nice to people. As long as you got those things covered, let's keep rolling. If you're struggling to stay busy, taking low-paying jobs, getting ghosted by leads, or stuck doing everything yourself, you're not alone. These are all symptoms that come from these three reasons we're going to cover today. Mistake number one is relying on word of mouth alone. Word of mouth can be great. We all know that. Little hint, word of mouth can also be the biggest killer if you have bad word of mouth, which is a thing that a lot of people don't talk about, is if you have bad word of mouth out there, that is going to hurt you tenfold more than good reviews or good word of mouth will help you. Again, relying on word of mouth can be great, but relying on it alone is one of the big mistakes because it's not consistent, it's not scalable, and it's not predictable. You can't go to the bank and ask for financing and tell them, oh, well, I have really good word of mouth. You know, people are going to call me next week and I'm going to get referrals. If you don't have something predictable, that doesn't fly, right? And it's also hard to plan out, okay, I did, 200,000 last year and I'm going to do 500,000 this year. You can't just hit a button and get more word of mouth jobs. Word of mouth is great, and you'll always see the guys online say, oh, I've never even had a website or ran an ad or whatever. And yes, there are those cases out there where people have gotten really good contracts, but a lot of them may also be doing things themselves, if they're telling the truth, doing things themselves, not being able to grow predictably, and they also may not be around in 5, 10, 15 years. A lot of times their opinions are coming from the way things were in the last, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Things are changing, right? It's a big deal. And so word of mouth is great. It should be a piece of the puzzle, but you cannot rely on it alone. One of the big symptoms you'll hear is like business is up and down. Guys say, oh, I had a great year, or we were super busy, and then things just fell off. That is a very common symptom of only relying on word of mouth because you have no way to turn the dial or predict or get more work or stay consistent and know 6 months from now, 9 months from now, what your business is going to look like. You only get work when someone refers you, so you can't turn on that switch or just ask for more referrals that week or just hope some neighbor calls, right? Not to get into the weeds, but I mean, there is referral programs, but that's not really the word of mouth most people are talking about. Referral programs can be very powerful, but that's something you build out and track and scale and predict, right? Totally different. Another big issue I see is when people are really used to word of mouth, a good referral is always going to be a lot easier of a sale because they came from good word of mouth. They already know somebody who you've worked for, who they trust, right? And then you run some kind of ad, or you get in the paper, or you do a billboard, or you get yard signs or something like that, and you start getting all these calls, but then you're not getting jobs because you don't have a sales process in place because you're just used to these warm customers coming to you who already trust you. They just need a bid and need to schedule the work. That's different than a sales process for inbound leads or people who just found you on the internet. What you need to do to fix this is have a consistent, reliable source of predictable leads coming to you, whether that's from SEO, from ads, from a website, from a story, from an affiliate. That's something that really isn't talked about in this world. You could have some kind of affiliate in your market, whether it's a dealer or a contractor or another company that maybe has consistent lead flow that maybe can't do all of their jobs or handle all of their leads. So you need some source of consistent lead flow that you can predict, that you can scale, right? That's the big thing. If your system doesn't have the ability to double the lead, like if I tell you, hey, next month I want you to get double the work you got this month, and you don't have a dial to make that happen, you are missing. I just recently talked to a client who told me that they made over $100,000 off of spending just $18,000 on marketing and ads. And he did that by turning on the switch, reverse engineering exactly how much work he wanted, and getting a consistent lead flow, and booking the jobs, doing the jobs, and getting paid. You cannot scale what you don't control. Word of mouth is not scalable. Mistake number two that I see, and really this should have been number one, is guys literally wasting thousands of dollars on leads because they didn't follow up. I am in hundreds of land clearing companies, dashboards, CRMs, accounts, whatever you want to call it, every day, and every day I see guys lose jobs to competitors because the competitor got to them first. I see them lose money or leave money on the table because they did not follow up with someone fast enough. And I see guys just literally miss opportunities because they were not following up with the leads that they paid for. And these are some of the same people that you will see turn around and say, marketing doesn't work, ads don't work, all of the leads were trash. And then you go look at their accounts and they did not call the leads, they did not text the leads, they tried to call them 3 or 4 days later, they answer the phone with, hello, yeah, who's this? Or they have all of their paperwork on a notepad that gets something spilt on or crumpled up or lost, and they just lose someone's phone number. They forget to follow up. I see guys get lucky all of the time because a customer responds back to them and it's like, hey, were you still going to give me that quote? Or hey, were you guys still going to come out? And they just happen to, jump back in and be like, oh, yes, yes. And they come up with some excuse. And it's like, you have to follow up. You have to keep track of your leads. And when you get to the point where you have fixed your lead problem and you have consistent opportunities coming in, you need to have a system to keep track of that, to automate that, or have the ability for someone to be working that sales pipeline for you if you're unable to do it, or you use technology to help you up and help you make better leverage of your time. The quickest way to waste money on ads is to spend money on them, turn them on, and when you get a lead, not respond to them or not respond to them fast enough. Y'all have all heard me say it before, but Alex Hormozi talks about the Harvard Business Study that was put out with speed to lead being the most important thing in 2025, and especially in service-based businesses. The statistic is if you can get to a lead within 60 seconds of them inquiring, you will increase the chance of them closing by 391%. A 4 times higher chance of them paying you if you will just get to them faster. That's it. He tells a story about a company that closed 80% of their leads, not 80% of estimates that they showed up to, but 80% of their leads, which is a crazy stat, right? And he asked him what he did, and he said he hired his aunt for $60,000 a year to do nothing but call the leads and answer the phone. No matter what she's doing, cooking, cleaning, at the house, on vacation, whatever, she answers the phone. And this business gets like 3 to 5 leads a day. So, I mean, it's not nothing crazy. But because of that, this guy was able to grow his business exponentially and profit exponentially just by getting to the leads quickly. The leads that he's paying for. That's one thing I try to stress to guys. Like, you are paying to get this person to either call you or fill out the form. You need to make the most of it, not only on the initial, but the second part of this is follow-up. You need to try to call more than once. You need to try to text more than once. You need to text them or call them every couple days for a while until you get an answer from them. You paid for that lead. You need to follow up with it, especially if you made it to the point of going out there and giving an estimate. Now you've paid for the lead and you've spent your time, diesel, and hours, and software, and paperwork, and effort to get them an estimate. You definitely need to be following up with that a lot. The best sales people and companies in the world ask for the sale the most times. That's the most simple but the most powerful statistic. Do not just send the estimate and never talk to them again. You have to follow up. A good example of this, I recently had a guy come out to do an estimate to put in a power gate that goes from our place into like the farm part of our house. And guy came out, he was here for a while, gave me a really good estimate, where he worked up an estimate and said he would email it to me. And they wrote down my email wrong because he wrote it on a piece of paper, and I never got the estimate. And so like 3 weeks later, I finally followed up and I called her, and she was like, oh yeah, I think we have it here. And she read the email and I was like, oh, my email address is wrong. So this is like, a $10,000 job that I wanted done. And if I wouldn't have followed up with them, they would have never got the job. And just because they put the email in wrong, they just sent it, they never called me, and they never tried to follow up. And if I wouldn't have followed up, they would have just lost it. And that's the same thing I see on the other side with these land clearing companies all of the time. You need to take the extra time to work the leads that you have paid for quickly, often, and following up. Follow up. Another symptom I hear of a lot is, guys are too busy, running equipment or running around getting people going, or they're in a place with no service or whatever. Valid excuse sometimes, right? But, you don't want to sacrifice the next job for the one you're on right now. Now, ideally, you would get to the point where your jobs aren't interrupted, but if you're an owner-operator, that's a reality of the business, right? If you want to keep the business going, you're going to have to find a way. Now, in our case, our software can do 99% of that legwork for you, and it's automated whether you have phone service or not, whether you're available or not. The system can get to your leads and even follow up with them if that's something that you want it done. And our system's not the only thing that does that. There's tons of stuff out there that does it, and AI is coming in like a storm, right? And AI can, with very little training, talk to customers very, very well. So, I'm not the biggest fan of AI talking to customers, but it is better than you missing them or them calling the competitor. So it's something to think about, and it's something that's going to be more and more prevalent in the future. So what's the solution to this mistake? I've hit on it again, but let's recap. You need a system to get to leads quickly, to follow up with them quickly, and to follow up often. And ideally, this would be automated. You want them to be getting a text and a call within that 60-second window, and you want to be able to get them some kind of estimate within 24 hours. Unless you need to do an in-person and you don't have 24 hours, you need to get that scheduled, and you need to get them the actual estimate within 48 hours outside of any special exclusions like some very large commercial project that may take some more time. And you need to have a script for all of this. If you want some examples of scripts, just comment below. I can send you some. We have a bunch of different inbound call scripts, outbound call scripts, follow-ups, stuff like that. But you want it to be scripted. Very short, doesn't have to be long, crazy, but you want it to be scripted and you want to memorize it, because if you're thinking about what you're going to say, then you're not listening as well as you should. And that is how you're going to win over more and more clients, is by listening to what their actual need is and then being able to provide the solution. The other big thing here is 78% of people will choose the first company to give them enough information to make a purchasing decision. So it's not only important to get to them quickly, speak to lead, get them the estimate quickly, but also give them all of the information and answer all of their questions in an opportune time frame so that they don't go with the next person. You want to be that 78%. Another big thing is giving the estimate either in person, which would be number one, in person, or over the phone. A lot of times I see guys will go and do the estimate in person, and then they will leave and say, hey, I'll send you the proposal later. You need to have a system to be able to give them the number there. Sales works way better in person. Second to that would be on the phone. Third, if they just don't give you the option to do it in person or over the phone, of course, send them that estimate, send them the proposal, have something that looks nice and professional, and try to follow up via phone or in person as soon as you possibly can. All right, mistake number 3, doing everything yourself. You're starting to feel burnt out. There's no time for growth because you're busy doing the jobs, quoting the jobs, calling the customers, following up, hopefully. And you can't step away, take a break, or take a vacation without the business just coming to a halt. There's lots of options for outsourcing phone calls and paperwork and assistant type work. In our case, we found that a good CRM with lots of automation is the best solution for quickness, affordability, and customization with very little training. But hiring a VA or hiring a local assistant or using a spouse or a family member for those types of things can be super beneficial. You want templated, repeatable, scalable solutions, right? You want to have phone scripts. You want to have templated estimates. You want to have SOPs on how to do the jobs and time frames and standard pricing, not necessarily that the customer needs to know, but standard pricing or reference sheets that you can use and or give to someone else to be able to make sure you're getting estimates to folks quickly. And then of course, marketing, if you can find someone to do your marketing for you so that you are able to focus on the business while inbound opportunities are consistently coming to you and you don't have to spend hours making ads and testing ads and figuring out what needs to be spent where and how and learning how to do that. If you don't know how to do that, that can end up taking up a big bulk of your time that should be spent selling, doing jobs, getting reviews, or hiring and training, right? So whether that's a local person or an agency or a family member, you need somebody doing your marketing for you so they can be thinking about that next step to make sure your opportunities keep coming in consistently. We have a handful of clients who were owner-operators and we're able to scale up to multiple machines just simply by hiring a marketing agency and then having somebody as an office person to make sure that all of the leads get talked to, all of the jobs get estimates, all the jobs get scheduled, and they can just focus on doing a good job face-to-face with the customer and getting referrals and reviews. Quick recap on the 3 biggest mistakes I see land clearing companies make that keep them from growing. Relying solely on word of mouth. Bad job following up, bad speed to lead, wasting money on ads, and trying to do everything themselves. Even fixing just one of these bottlenecks could easily double your income. Now, of course, we help land clearing companies implement these exact systems every day and fix these bottlenecks. If you'd like to see exactly how that works and how it could possibly work for you, click the link below, book a call. Would love to talk more and learn about your business. Thanks for watching.